This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
At IKEA, your dreams can come true. Well, maybe not the ones where you're being chased by a monster. We're talking about kitchen dreams. And there are IKEA products and solutions for all of them. Whether it's a whole new kitchen, a statement glassware set, or just new cutlery. If you got big dreams or small dreams in any size or budget, IKEA can help you bring them to life. Visit IKEA.us/dreamkitchen to learn more. Dream the possibilities.
Sunday morning. Live long and prosper. With us today is Dr. Peter Michalos, and his advice. A lot of our listeners are living much longer, in my opinion. Well, Dr. Peter Michalos, give us your what new facts are you going to give us today?
Well, today, John, we're going to tie in a lot of different things that we've talked about over the years about health and longevity, things like fasting and olive oil and avocados, but we're going to try to piece it all together, and some of the exciting new research that's just come out, like an observational study with women that have been followed for 30 years, and they found that the women who took metformin, for example, compared to other diabetes medication, they experienced a much higher incidence of exceptional longevity of living over 90, and that's pretty amazing that they had a 30% lower death risk before age 90 compared to other medicines.
But as being you know, you got to make sure the metformin comes from the right country because it hasn't been proven, but there's stuff that comes from the wrong countries may have other additives in it that is not good for us.
No, you're absolutely right. The nitrosamines that have been found, which are carcinogenic, but it's not only the country it comes from, it's where the components. So you can have a factory, for example, in New Jersey, but if they're outsourcing from places where the chemical components of the medicine are not being made properly, or in a dirty lab, as we've seen in some of the recent news, or not following proper pharmaceutical-grade cleanliness, it is a problem. But getting back to the exciting studies, also they found that hyperinsulinemia, or high insulin levels, were found to be involved in causing more pancreatic cancer, and that's thought to be by overstimulating the pancreatic cells, and also basically a self-feeding effect, because too much insulin drives more sugar into the cancer cells. So that's another exciting area that we have to start thinking about more. And when people go for their physical, they check their hemoglobin A1C and their blood sugar, which may be normal, but nobody ever asks, can you please check my fasting insulin levels? So when you see a pattern of rising insulin levels, that you can have normal blood sugar, but rising insulin levels can warn you of oncoming diabetes, but also it's a risk factor in cancer, and that's why, as we've talked about, that big study where they found as we age, cells multiply faster, make more copying errors, and that's associated with rising insulin levels, and that's why we talked about things that can help control the rising insulin levels, and that's why fasting and intermittent fasting, which basically promotes cellular cleanup and helps control your insulin levels. So when you don't constantly throw food in your stomach, you're not shooting out insulin constantly. And shooting out insulin constantly and stimulating your pancreas is associated with more cancer. And that was also published in Nature, which is a major journal. The things I want to talk about are some of the things that can help. For example, we've talked about things like avocado, but now we know a lot more about avocados, that they actually help with vitamin absorption, because like dissolves like, and vitamin A, D, E, and K get better absorbed when you eat avocados. And avocados contain vitamin B6, folate, vitamin E, and potassium, and they're also a good prebiotic that feeds the good bacteria And they've also been shown that the monounsaturated fats that avocado have lowers the LDL level, and avocados have been shown to improve insulin sensitivity. So there again, it ties in with the whole cancer story, and the fibers that it has are essential for good brain function and heart function. And then the other thing we're going to touch upon is olive oil, because they've shown, this is really amazing, that olive oil actually facilitates programmed cell death, which is called apoptosis, which tells the bad cells, hey, we don't need you anymore, you need to just commit suicide, basically, and it gets rid of bad cell. And it also blocks cancer stem cells. I mean, that is new research that's showing that olive oil actually blocks these cancer stem cells.
That is mind-boggling. The olive oil blocks the cancer. Is that traditionally then the countries like Italy and Spain and Greece, that the people have a lot of olive oil in those countries? Is the cancer rate lower in those countries than it is in other countries?
Well, the countries like within the country, like areas like Sardinia, use a ton of olive oil. They're a blue zone. It's a common theme. Icaria, Greece, they use a ton of olive oil. And yes, the people who use olive oil in those countries seem to do better. And it also stimulates these mesenchymal stem cells, healthy cells, which help with healing and regenerative medicine. So olive oil actually helps to repair and regenerate, which is also fascinating. And then they found that the olive oil contains the oleic acid, also found in the avocados, which basically suppresses tumor growth, and it also stimulates the sirtuin and FOX genes, which basically are longevity genes. So it seems to be the common denominator in the blue zones. And then people say, well, how come Loma Linda, California is on that list? Because they might need a lot of olive oil, but they have a lot of avocados, which also has oleic acid, which seems to have this effect.
So the key thing, avocados should be in your diet how many times a week? And olive oil how many times a week? What do you think? Just opinion.
I think if you can have some avocados 5 times a week and olive oil every single day, I actually take 2 swigs every day of extra virgin olive oil.
And you got to make sure you get real olive oil, because at one time, 70% of the olive oil sold in supermarkets was not 100% olive oil.
Yes, and it also becomes rancid after the 2 years after the date of picking. So when you see blended olive oil, forget it. So you need to, when you go in and you buy the really good extra virgin olive oil at your local Christides and D'Agostino's, you just look for the expiration date and try to get extra virgin olive oil and have it every day. And these are important things that are all coming together about how sugar and insulin, and it's all related to a lot of our diseases, and it'll help slow it down to help us live long and prosper.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Michalos, and let's catch up again real soon. And thank you for keeping our listeners alive, and God bless you and God bless America.
And thank you for giving us the microphone to always get the truth out on the Cats Roundtable.